friends. Welcome back. We are going to talk about our Claude Monet bridges today. I will walk you through how to make your bridge and your background trees. The rest of the stuff you add is up to you. Okay. So maybe we can start thinking about maybe you were on the bridge. What's going to be in the front? Is it going to be rocks? Maybe a frog? Maybe some flowers? You get to decide. But for this project, um, on some of these, I've done the construction paper crayons. They work beautifully. Um, I think these are regular crayons, and these were oil pastels. So you can use any variety of resist material. For this demonstration, I am going to use oil pastels. We don't need a lot of oil pastels, and in fact, I prefer the oil pastels that have no wrappers and are a little bit crusty. I'll show you why. Let's get started. To begin, I am going to grab a brown oil pastel and we are going to make a horizon line. The horizon line is where the earth meets the sky. Okay, it is a simple line. It doesn't necessarily have to be straight, but for this case, we're going to just draw a line that goes from one edge of our paper all the way to the other side. Make sure it touches. This line is super important in landscapes. It shows us where to start and stop coloring. If you noticed, I went over it several times to make it the emphasis, a nice strong line. And then I'm going to take my oil pastel and I'm just going to scrape a little bit. Okay, so notice I kind of put it down. I'm going to use my little pincher fingers and I'm going to just scrape it up and down. Kind of gives this little foggy appearance. When you take a photograph, sometimes the background isn't clearly in focus. And that is the goal for this little fuzzy line. Once I do it in brown, I am going to grab a darker green color and kind of do the same thing. Just a little scrape up and down. And if you would like to get fancy, perhaps you want to choose a lighter green. And choosing different varieties adds a little bit more interest, a little bit more depth in your image, creates an interesting horizon line. I remember in Claude Monet's garden, there was tons of flowers, tons of foliage, tons of different stuff happening. Okay, so this is to give it an impression of his impressionistic bridge. All right, once you've got that, we can start on the bridge. And I am going to start with my brown color. We're going to start with the part where your feet walk across, okay? And that is going to just simply be a half circle. So watch, we are going to start at the horizon line. We're going to loop it up and make a half circle. And like I said, this is where our feet go. Okay. Notice I went over it several times. And guess what? We're going to do the same light green, dark green thing we have going on here. So on top of this brown line, I'm going to make my dark green line for variety and interest. Now I'm going to go in with my light green for a little highlight and definition. Okay. Awesome. Let's move on to the part where we put our hands when we walk across the bridge. So this part is for our feet and for the a little bit bigger. So we're going to make the same line, just a little bit bigger. So again, starting with the brown, looping it up, and darkening it up. Going in with the dark green. And of course, the light green. I feel like the light green helps blend the two together as well. Okay. Now, if our bridge was like this, it would simply fall apart. What we need to do is add the little rails that connect the top to the bottom. And these rails are vertical lines. Vertical lines go straight up and down. So this oil pastel is now a vertical oil pastel. So we want to make sure that our lines on our bridge are vertical. So I'm going to start with the dark green on this one. I'm going to start right in the middle and make several vertical lines so our bridge does not fall apart. Okay, I'm just trying to evenly space them. There we go. I'm going to go in with some light green. for interest and blending. Little impression of the Claude Monet Bridge. And then for a little bit of shadow, we can go in on the opposite side with the brown. If you wanted a little bit more interest. All right, so our bridge is done. I will show you how to make 2 different trees, and then you guys can get going on your very own ideas. So for our tree, you can do them 2 ways, and I'll show you both ways. And for this one, I'm going to hold the oil pastel like I normally would hold a pencil, and I'm just going to draw a line straight up, have it come off the page. And typically trees are a little thicker at the bottom, so if you want that detail, you can make that detail. We're going to turn this into a little Y tree. Okay, so you can make several Ys to look like branches if you would like. And then some green leaves. So you can make a weeping willow. If you were to make a weeping willow, the lines would come down like this. That's just a type of tree. It's a beautiful tree. They have long, long strands. And of course, if you do it in a dark green, you have to do it in light green for that interest to make it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, that is one type of tree. And then for the second type of tree, you can scrape your oil pastel if you like that look. Or you can pick up your oil pastel and draw another tree trunk going straight up and down. Once again, if you wanted the Ys, you can add that detail. Just have your branches come out and up looking like Ys, if you would like that. Now, the other tree I'm going to do are just going to be little swirls, I guess, starting with my dark green. And of course, going in with my light green. Now you can do 2 of the same trees. You can add a variety of trees back here. In a garden, typically there's tons of different things happening in a garden. You can choose how you want your garden to look. I'm just going to fill in some more of these spots that didn't look so full. And my garden looks like it's full on springtime or even summer. From here, I'm going to add a few little kind of, I don't know, little bushes down here, down at that horizon line. Again, for some interest. I could turn these into flowers if I wanted to. Or maybe we can just make this grass. Once again, it's your choice. If you wanted to do flowers, a simple flower choice might be just doing little circles on top. Pops the color back here. And if you just wanted it to be grass, you could just leave them like so. So I get to kind of smudge this out, and I'm going to smudge it underneath that horizon line to give it sort of like a watery appearance. Before I go, just wanted to show you a simple flower you can do, starting with the letter U and coloring it in. Outline my lily pad with a dark green, go in with a light green. Little U, color it in. Okay, back to fast motion. All right, welcome back. I am finished. Just wanted to point out a few details that I did. I did not have a gray oil pastel for my rock, so what I did is I outlined it with my black, and then I went in with white to get this gray color. If you don't have a color you need, you can mix them, especially with oil pastels. I added my little frog in the front, nice little happy smile. And my last little detail that I did is I took my finger and I scraped down. So I took some of this brown, I went right on top of the brown, and then I just swiped it down to make it look like a reflection in the water. I did the same things just right under my lily pads, just a little bit of interest to make it look like they're floating in water. Um, I can't wait to see what y'all create. These are always so fun, always so unique. So if you create these, let me know. Tag me in them. Can't wait to see them all. All right, friends, let's talk about our tissue paper. We are going to paint our sky and our water using this tissue paper. Now, this is a special kind of tissue paper. We call it bleeding tissue paper because the color will bleed off the tissue paper onto your paper. But there is a trick to make this work well. So first you need a paintbrush and water. So dip, 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 wipe, wipe. And just with clean water, you're going to start with the sky. And you are going to make a little sandwich with your work. Okay. So once you get the water on, you can place down the tissue paper, tap, tap, tap. And then you got to paint it down. Okay. It's not meant to permanently stay here, but you want to get it wet so that color comes off. See how that's happening already? All right. And for your sky, you don't have to do normal sky colors. I wonder if it's like a sunset or a sunrise where you see some of these warmer colors. You get to choose what you want it to look like. And if it just lifts up, that's okay. You can kind of just gently place it down. So you're going to work this way, just applying water on top to get that color nice and good. So make sure you get a good coverage because if you don't get enough water, it's not going to bleed so well. So you want to make sure that you get that water going really well. And it's okay to overlap some of these colors. All right. I'm going to keep going and I'll come back and show you what it looks like in a minute.